I, 29F, recently discovered something that has completely destroyed my relationship with my sister Kelly, 26F, and my ex-husband Mike, 31M. This is a complicated and painful story, but I need to share it. I enlisted in the military right after our parents died, when I was 19. It wasn't my dream career, but it was the only way I could support myself and my teenage sister. The military offered stability, good benefits, and enough money to help Kelly go to college. I served for 8 years, doing 3 deployments overseas. My third deployment in 2020 was supposed to be my last one before transitioning to civilian life. Mike and I met in 2018 through mutual friends. He was charming, understood military life since his dad was also in service, and made me feel normal when everything else in my life was chaos. We dated for a year before getting married in 2019. Kelly was my maid of honor at the wedding. She cried during her speech, talking about how I was both her sister and mother, and how happy she was that I had found someone who loved me as much as she did. The first year of marriage was great. Mike was supportive of my career, and he got along amazingly well with Kelly. They would hang out sometimes when I was busy with work, which made me happy because family was everything to me. When my deployment orders came in 2020, Mike assured me we would be fine. We had survived my previous deployments, and this one was only for 6 months. The first few months of deployment were normal. Mike and I video called when possible, though the time difference and my irregular schedule made it difficult. He would tell me about his work as a software developer, and I would share what little I could about my days. He mentioned hanging out with Kelly occasionally, which I appreciated. I was glad they were keeping each other company. Around month 4, things started changing. Mike's calls became less frequent. When we did talk, he seemed distant. I figured it was just deployment stress. I had seen it happen to other military couples. When I finally came home in late 2020, Mike was different. He wouldn't look me in the eye. 2 weeks after my return, he asked for a divorce. He said he had fallen out of love, that the distance had changed things. I was heartbroken but agreed, thinking it was just another military marriage casualty. The divorce was finalized in early 2021. Kelly was my rock during this time. She practically lived at my house, bringing me food, helping me pack up Mike's things, and listening to me cry for hours. She seemed to know exactly what I needed, when to talk, when to just sit quietly with me, when to force me to get out of the house. She even helped me find and move into a new apartment, saying I needed a fresh start away from the memories. Some background about Kelly: we lost our parents in a car accident when I was 19 and she was 16. As her only living close relative, I became her legal guardian. I had planned to go to college, but instead joined the military to support us both. While I was away for training and deployments, Kelly lived with our Aunt Jane, but I made sure she could attend college using my military benefits. I sent most of my pay home for her expenses. She was more like a daughter to me than a sister. I sacrificed everything to give her a good life, and I never regretted it because I loved her so much. Last week changed everything. I was at my usual coffee shop when I ran into Mike's best friend Tom. We were catching up, and he casually asked how I was handling Kelly and Mike's relationship during my deployment. My heart stopped. I asked him what he meant, and his face went pale as he realized I had no idea what he was talking about. According to Tom, Kelly and Mike started seeing each other just 2 months into my deployment. They weren't even subtle about it. Kelly would stay at our house multiple times a week. They would go on dates around town, hold hands in public, act like a couple. Tom assumed I knew because Kelly was my sister, and he thought we must have discussed it. He looked horrified when he realized he had just exposed their secret. I called Kelly immediately. She tried to deny it at first, but when I mentioned Tom, she broke down. Through tears, she admitted that she and Mike had developed feelings for each other while I was away. She claimed they tried to fight it but couldn't help themselves. According to her, they ended things before I came home because they felt guilty, and that's why Mike asked for the divorce. I felt like I was going to be sick. Every memory of the past year suddenly took on a new meaning. All those times Kelly came over after my divorce, holding me while I cried about Mike, helping me pack up our house. She knew she was partly responsible for destroying my marriage. She had watched me fall apart while keeping this secret. When I called Mike, he confirmed everything. He said he developed real feelings for Kelly but knew it was wrong. He claimed they mutually decided to end things because they couldn't bear to hurt me like that. But they already had. They had betrayed me in the worst possible way while I was serving our country, unable to defend my marriage. The reason I'm writing this now is because Kelly just got engaged to her boyfriend Jake, 28M, last month. Despite everything, she wants me to be her maid of honor. She's been calling and texting constantly, saying I need to forgive her because we're sisters and family is forever. She claims she's truly sorry and that losing me would break her heart. My Aunt Jane, who helped raise Kelly while I was deployed, thinks I'm being too harsh. She says I need to forgive Kelly because family is all we have after losing our parents. But I can't get past this betrayal. Every time I look at Kelly now, all I can see is her with Mike in our house, sleeping in our bed, betraying me while I was risking my life overseas. How can I stand beside her at her wedding knowing what she did to me? Update 1: The situation has gotten so much worse since my last post. Last Saturday, Kelly showed up at my apartment with Aunt Jane. I was doing laundry when I heard aggressive knocking on my door. When I opened it, they both pushed their way inside before I could stop them. Kelly was already crying, and Aunt Jane had that stern look she used to give us when we misbehaved as kids. Kelly immediately started begging me to reconsider being her maid of honor. She went on about how she'd already bought my dress, how she planned everything around me being there, how her wedding wouldn't be the same without her big sister by her side. The whole time she was talking, she kept trying to hug me or hold my hands, but I kept backing away. Then she played her trump card. She brought up the night our parents died, how I was the one who held her while she cried, how I promised to always be there for her. She talked about how I worked extra shifts at the base to send her money for college, how I skipped my leave to cover her emergency appendix surgery bills. She was using every sacrifice I ever made for her as emotional ammunition, trying to guilt me into forgiving her. I was about to throw them both out when my phone buzzed. It was an email from Amy, Tom's wife. She had seen my Reddit post and recognized our situation. What she sent me made my hands shake. There were dozens of photos of Mike and Kelly together, taken over several months after my divorce. Photos of them at restaurants, walking in the park, outside movie theaters. They were clearly on dates, holding hands, kissing, acting like a couple in love. The timestamps on the photos matched exactly with days Kelly was supposedly helping me recover. One photo was taken the same evening she had come over to help me pack up my wedding album, telling me I deserved better than Mike while she held me as I cried. Another was from the morning she had canceled our breakfast plans, claiming she had a migraine. In the photo, she and Mike were having brunch at our favorite cafe. I showed the photos to Kelly and Aunt Jane right there. Kelly's face went white. Aunt Jane tried to grab my phone, but I pulled it away. That's when Kelly's whole story changed. Suddenly, she wasn't sorry anymore. Instead, she admitted that she and Mike had never really ended things when I came back from deployment. They had kept seeing each other in secret, planning to wait until enough time had passed to tell me they were in love. According to Kelly, they thought I would eventually accept their relationship. They had this whole fantasy planned out where they would tell me together, and I would be happy for them because I loved them both so much. She actually seemed to believe I would have blessed their relationship if they had just waited long enough. The only reason they never went public was because Mike met someone else, a woman at his gym. He broke things off with Kelly suddenly, telling her he had real feelings for this new woman. Kelly was devastated but couldn't tell anyone because our whole family still thought she was just my supportive baby sister. Then Kelly tried to justify everything with the most twisted logic I've ever heard. She said she had always idolized me, that I was more like a mother than a sister. She claimed that being with Mike made her feel closer to me while I was deployed. That sleeping in my bed, wearing my clothes, using my things, it was all because she missed me so much. She said Mike reminded her of me, and that's why she fell for him. I felt physically sick listening to her try to rationalize her betrayal. She was basically saying she screwed my husband because she loved me too much. The mental gymnastics she was doing to make herself the victim were incredible. Aunt Jane just stood there the whole time, nodding along with Kelly's excuses. When I started yelling at Kelly, Aunt Jane tried to calm me down by bringing up Kelly's abandonment issues from our parents' death. She suggested that Kelly's fear of losing people made her act irrationally, as if that somehow excused sleeping with my husband. I completely lost it then. I reminded Aunt Jane how I gave up my entire future for Kelly. I could have gone to college, had a normal career, maybe even started my own family. Instead, I joined the military at 19 because it was the only way to support Kelly. I spent 8 years serving my country, missing holidays and birthdays, risking my life, also Kelly could have a good life. And this was how she repaid me. Aunt Jane had the nerve to say that my military service was my choice, that I couldn't hold it over Kelly's head forever. She said I was being cruel by refusing to move past this, that Kelly was still young and had made a mistake. A mistake. Like she had borrowed my car without asking instead of having an affair with my husband. Update 2: I discovered something that made this entire situation even more twisted. Jake, Kelly's fiancé, came to my apartment last night. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. He said he needed to talk to me about Kelly, and what he told me made my skin crawl. Jake found old messages on Kelly's phone last week when she asked him to check a recipe she had saved. While scrolling through her photos, he found screenshots of old conversations between her and Mike. The messages went back to my deployment days and continued well after my divorce. What he read made him physically sick. When Jake asked me for the full story, I told him everything. How Kelly and Mike had their affair while I was deployed, how they continued seeing each other after my divorce, and how Kelly only stopped because Mike dumped her for someone else. Jake sat there getting paler with each detail because Kelly had told him a completely different version. According to Kelly's story to Jake, Mike had aggressively pursued her during my deployment. She claimed she repeatedly rejected him out of loyalty to me, but he wouldn't stop. She told Jake that Mike had tried to kiss her once, but she pushed him away and threatened to tell me. She made herself sound like the loyal, protective sister who would never betray me. Then Jake revealed something that made my blood boil. Kelly had been meeting Mike again recently, claiming she needed closure before her wedding. Jake had seen them having coffee together at least 4 times in the past 3 weeks. Each time, Kelly told him they were just talking, trying to make peace with the past so she could move forward with her life with Jake. But Jake wasn't convinced, so he followed them after one of their coffee meetings. He watched them walk to Mike's car, where they sat talking for over an hour. When Kelly came home that day, she told Jake she had been shopping for wedding decorations. The lie was so casual, so practiced, that it made Jake question everything about their relationship. Jake confronted Mike at his office the next day. Mike apparently felt guilty and admitted everything. Kelly had been trying to rekindle things with him, saying she had never stopped loving him. She told Mike that she was only marrying Jake because she thought Mike would never leave his new girlfriend. Mike showed Jake messages from Kelly where she begged him to give their relationship another chance. Jake called off the engagement immediately. He couldn't marry someone who could lie so easily, who could betray her own sister and then try to paint herself as the victim. He said he was grateful he found out before the wedding, before they had kids or built a life together. Kelly showed up at my apartment a few hours after Jake left, completely hysterical. Her makeup was smeared down her face, and she looked like she had been crying for hours. She started screaming at me the moment I opened the door, saying I had no right to tell Jake about her past. She accused me of being jealous of her happiness, of wanting to ruin her life because mine was so empty. I finally snapped. After months of holding back, of trying to be the bigger person, I let her have it. I told her she was pathetic, manipulating everyone around her to get what she wanted. I told her she deserved to lose Jake just like I lost Mike, that maybe now she would understand a fraction of the pain she caused me. Kelly tried to slap me, but I caught her wrist. The look in her eyes scared me, it was pure hatred. She spat out that I was a terrible sister, that I had always tried to control her life, that I brought this on myself by being away so much. She said Mike never would have looked at her if I had been a better wife. I told her to get out and never contact me again. As she was leaving, she turned and said something that showed me who she really was. She said at least Mike had wanted her, had chosen her, while I was just the sad military wife he settled for. She said she was glad they had their affair, that she would do it all again, and that I deserved every bit of pain I got. I slammed the door in her face and slid down to the floor, shaking. I could hear her screaming and crying in the hallway, but I didn't care anymore. The sister I loved, the one I raised and protected and sacrificed everything for, was gone. Maybe she never really existed at all. Update 3: A lot has changed in the past 3 months. After everything that happened with Kelly and Jake, I realized I needed a complete fresh start. I accepted a job offer in a different city, sold most of my furniture, and moved away without telling anyone except Tom and Amy. They helped me pack and kept my move secret from Kelly and Aunt Jane. The new city has been good for me. I'm working as a civilian contractor, using my military experience in a way that feels meaningful. I've made a few friends at work, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe without the weight of family drama crushing me. Tom and Amy are the only people from my old life that I still talk to. Tom feels guilty about exposing everything, but I've told him repeatedly that he did me a favor. Finding out the truth, as painful as it was, finally freed me from Kelly's manipulation. Amy has become a close friend, and we video chat every week. Through Tom, I heard that Kelly tried to win Jake back. She showed up at his workplace multiple times until security had to escort her out. She even tried to contact his parents to plead her case, but they blocked her number. Jake ended up taking a job in another state just to get away from her. Aunt Jane still tries to reach me through different numbers, leaving voicemails about how family should stick together. She mentions that Kelly is struggling, that she's in a dark place, that she needs her big sister. I delete the messages without listening to them fully. I raised Kelly, protected her, sacrificed everything for her, and she repaid me by destroying my marriage and then trying to blame me for her choices. Last week, Kelly somehow found out where I moved. She turned up at my old apartment building looking for me. When she couldn't find me, she left a letter with my former neighbor, Mrs. Chen. Mrs. Chen, who had seen the whole drama unfold, waited a few days before forwarding it to me. The letter is sitting on my kitchen counter now, unopened. Part of me wants to read it, to know what Kelly could possibly say to justify everything she did. But a bigger part of me knows that opening that letter would be like reopening a wound that's finally starting to heal. Kelly had countless chances to be honest, to show real remorse, to take responsibility for her actions. Instead, she chose to lie, manipulate, and blame me every step of the way. Mike tried to contact me too. He sent an email saying he was sorry for everything, that he regretted hurting me, that he wished things had happened differently. I deleted it immediately. His regret means nothing to me now. He and Kelly deserved each other, both of them selfish, both of them liars, both of them willing to betray the people who love them most. Sometimes I think about the girl Kelly used to be, or at least the girl I thought she was. The little sister who would crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who cried when I left for basic training, who seemed so proud of her big sister serving in the military. I wonder if that girl ever really existed, or if Kelly was always capable of this level of betrayal and I just couldn't see it. I'm done with that chapter of my life. I've learned that family isn't about blood, it's about loyalty, respect, and trust. Kelly might be my sister by birth, but she stopped being my family the moment she chose to betray me. I don't hate her anymore. I feel nothing for her. And that's probably the best outcome I could have hoped for.